it's doing the scan. Thank you.
Sonic Free Riders.
How have I been? I've been doing pretty well, I'm not gonna lie. Now can we just skip sign in? Can. Continue without saving. Hey, there we go, that's what we want. Which is going to come in.
To teach you how to play?
No, I would really appreciate it if you didn't. Alright, well,
Enter the World Grand Prix and challenge your...
I suppose... Does it start here? No, it doesn't. We have cutscene and then we can choose. Yeah. Right, let's put this over here. Okay, can it still see me? It can. Okay. Alrighty. This is going to be 2 hours of free riders, hopefully. Hopefully less, because the world record is 2 hours, and I think we can just creep underneath that. So, this is the first run of any percent. Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, looking forward to this.
On your gear.
Yep. Doing that.
Get set.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Right. Well, that's certainly loses time over my normal stuff, but that's how you got to run this category. Alrighty. I'm feeling good about heroes. Heroes should be easy. Oh, look at that time. Impeccable. There we go. Alrighty. Starting off fresh. Oh. What's that? Disappointing. Oh, let me get that. There we go. Going down the rail. Good. Alright, swimming time. I think this is the fastest way of doing that. Cool. Alrighty. It's a good start, I think. We've got an S. There we go. That was a brilliant start.
Yeesh, Sonic.
Cool. Does I have to do this every time? That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. Literally what I'm doing.
Get set.
That's what I'm doing. I'm literally doing it. It can't be doing this after everything. If it is, then I want my money back. Yo, Scoop. How are you doing?
I'll do my best.
I can't just go whenever. Too early? Yeah. Good. Needed some from there. Good, yeah. Be nice if we had a few more around here, but that's alright. 30? Yeah, there we go. Good. 100 is all I wanted, right? Well, we'll get 150 anyway. How do you are swimming? Tails. Tails should be a faster swimmer, right? Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Right, okay, I'm gonna stop there. Stop, Tails. Stop. Oh no, I have a feeling the settings on my console might try and pause my game if I'm not careful. Gotta make sure I don't say that word, otherwise that won't help.
On your gear.
Actually, I'm saving time by... I'm facing forward, please, get a move on.
Get set.
I am. Oh, I don't think I can save any time on this. Oh, and it thought I just did a kick. Oh. Okay. Canucks, almost.
All right,
Okay,
bring it on.
grind challenge.
Ready, go.
That's a good start.
Ready, go.
Hey, this ain't a playthrough, this is a speedrun. Good. Good. I'm glad that snapping to rails is so easy in this game.
Yes.
Don't need to jump there. Don't need to jump here. Nope, just need to move over, which we did. Very good. Easy up.
Ready, go. Sweet.
Oop. Yeah, you know how it is. This morning I was wearing trousers, like the least appropriate trousers for this sort of thing, and yes, I'm glad I have since switched.
Ooh, it's all your fault. We
On your gear.
Oh, okay, it's finally stopped saying,
Get set.
let us check your measurements. Finally. That's good. Alright, T-posing mission, let's go. No, it's not. I'm getting too ahead of myself.
come on. Come on. Yeah. Come on.
I hope you're well, Panda. As you can see, I'm very ill because I've decided to play this game. How I'm ill? Well, that's for you to find out. We keep taking these A pluses. Very good. Nice. Yeah, this is sweet. Cars can't make advantage of those, so we just go through. A. Nice. A? A rank? S rank. This is almost an all S, an all S rank story. Oh, okay.
On your gear. Get set.
Yeah, I didn't do that, but go off, Knuckles. Finally a Knuckles mission, let's go. We love a little bit of Knuckles.
Step aside. Here we go.
Good. Sure, just don't pick up my inputs, game. I know people complain about drop inputs a lot in speedruns, but you know, I don't think they're ever more justified than in this game. For non-England folk, I'd just like to point out that it is actually like warm here today.
You're all talk.
So I'm gonna feel the heat quite quickly, probably after this, during this, whatever.
Hey, robot! Just on your gear. Get set.
Okay, sure, Sonic. Do that. Stop trying to kick, man. I'm literally not kicking. Maybe my short's doing that. I don't know. Right, speed showdown should be
Bring
easy.
it on. Ready? You can spin.
Starting time. Bro, you see how much I'm kicking?
Stop.
Okay, we can't cheat this turn. Let's jump anyway. Good, I think I'll just get that way. Now we want to hit this rail on the side. Yeah, we hit it. Somewhat of a shame we don't get to do more of this stage with Team Sonic, because it's much easier to do it with them than some of the other teams.
Sweet.
Yeah, Netty Sky McDouglas. There we go. I can English. Hello, welcome.
We lost to this. On your
Maybe I
gear.
should start using the voice features of
Get
the
set.
tools that I have in front of me. Okay. Yeah, cool. Okay.
Step. Here we go. Here we go. Here.
Thought it might have been too early, but it wasn't, which is good. S. Ah, not quite. So I did a stream of this morning. You know, I'd had my breakfast and I'd walked it off with a dog walk. And pasta is my fuel for today. Easy.
You're all talk.
A little bonk help there. Yoga, Evie. Thank you. Gonna need it. I'm already losing it. Thank you, much appreciated.
On your gear. Get set.
Alright, this is T-posing the mission. If the game fails to pick up my T-posing, then that'll be a shame. It's picking it up, that's good. Can we go all the way there? I hope we can. Should be able to. Can we get some T's in the chat? Oh, excuse me. That was so close now. Yeah, we're losing time here. Well, we would have saved some. Okay. Thought that was the thing there. If. Oh well. Did I do it, Mum? Was my dominance asserted? That's a strange thing to say.
Your gear is still as amazing as...
On your gear. Get set. All right, bring it on. Ready?
Oh, look at the timing. Such a pro.
Ready? Go.
Potato.
Yeah. Ready? Yeah.
Yes, baby. Okay. Can we go over? Avoid that. Yes, we can. Oh, we didn't want to bonk there.
Ready? Ready? Go. Yeah. Ready? Go. Yeah.
Go this way.
Ready? Go.
Nice, right in front of the.
Ready? Go. Ready? Yeah.
He'd be swaying though.
Ready? Go. Sweet.
Easy one lap. They want to blue shell me at the end. It ain't happening. It ain't happening. Wow, this story feels so much faster without things being saved.
On your gear.
There's a little bit of time where the hard drive's usually saving something. But now with no save, I'm getting free time save. Which, you know what that means. It's less time for me to just to chill.
All right, bring it on.
Okay.
Ready? Go.
Decent time for both of us.
Ready? Go.
Ooh,
Yeah.
still got an A. Happy with that.
Ready? Go. Yeah.
That's plus. What?
Ready? Go.
Yeah, is that a Brandino bloke? My name, Blokdino. What? I apologise if you hear repeats of stuff, but yo, Brandino, thank you for the 5 to Num. Defaltive. The Scoob. To Lakis, and I believe that's to a certain Mr. Dolphin. It's to a certain Mr. Dolphin. Much obliged, thank you very much. Ooh. Did it anyway. Hey? Didn't resurrect it. Sad.
See ya.
Yeah, get lost, Jack. Go. Right, let's move over.
Ready, go! Ready, go!
Gonna stay quiet because these missions are a little bit harder than the others. I'll make sure I'm doing them well. Okay, almost level 4 if we can. Don't know. Don't think we can. We shall see. We get a couple more rings. That doesn't exist.
Ready, go! Ready, go! Yeah!
Yeah.
Ready, go!
Cool. Alrighty. I think we're going through this. It looks like Brandino was incredibly generous to some folk, and
Ready, go!
some people got some subs. So for the people who did get them, number 1, you now are legally obliged to follow Brandino.
Sweet!
He's pretty epic. And yeah, enjoy the emotes, I suppose.
Ouch! That race was.
Okay, my splits are a little bit higgledy-piggledy, but
On your
we
gear.
keep moving. We go.
Get set.
Alrighty, this could, because of the no save, if we do well, this could be a free PV with the Team Babylon. I don't think that hero's run would have been PV, but who knows? Who knows?
No way I can lose.
I mean, I should know because I'm at 0.01. I ain't having that. Unbelievable.
Did that hurt?
Okay. I think there's only one of these that I can take here, so.
Switch. Let's fly.
Screw you.
Let's fly. This. Let's fly.
If that gets the person in first. Great if it would. Hey. Yeah, there we go. I love the redemption arc in this game. Alrighty. Oh, I did try. Okay. Cool. Doesn't matter where you are here. A, it better be A. Yeah. Let's fly! Or whatever Jet says.
I'm number 1.
Just a reminder that I can't hear the audio of this game, so I don't have to hear Jet's stupid voice. Which is a blessing, really, to us all.
It's Shadow, right?
On your gear. Get set.
Sorry, what do you think he's saying? Servine? What do you mean? Alright, this is the speed challenge.
Think you can win with a bow?
As long as this game doesn't screw me over, I should be alright. Great, now I guess I have to hear it. Thank you, Brandino.
On your gear.
Okay. This one's a trick mission? No. Rings. It's a ring collection mission. I remember somebody was sort of doing like, what would the sexual stereotypes of some of the Hedgehog characters be? And somebody said Jet would be gay, but he also hates gay people. And I thought, yeah, that sounds about right. I don't know what trick that was. Right, cool. Oh, debated. Gonna get hit. Hey, over here. Can't remember. I feel like one of those is maybe a 30, but the rest aren't anything special. Alright, well we can bonk as much as we want. Let's do a hard bonk there. Let's just do this. Good back exercise. See if we can find any out of bounds. No out of bounds. Doesn't look like we can find any out of bounds. Okay, let's. Stop. This means we save time. Cool. Because he's already at a standstill. Ignore whenever it says new record. That's just going off.
Storm Best Albatross.
Yes. I'm glad that it's the Spanish lady. I love her. I'm sorry that it's coming through twice, but I just have to live with it. Foreign challenge. Alrighty.
Hey, I can lose. Let's fly. Let's fly.
Disappointing. Can still get this, but it's gonna be tighter. Okay. Cool, need to be careful here. Oh no. Okay. What? Oh no. This is bad for me. Because I need to hit this one. And then there's a jump here that I need to hit as well. Oh, we hit that. Okay. Hallelujah. Oh, that was close. Hello, Huds. Hit the cube. No, they've turned me into a cube. Mum, help. I'm scared. Come pick me up.
Get set.
Oh, of course. It wouldn't be as... Cancel. Okay, let's go. Bang. She bonked. Oh well. Yeah, I should have gone into settings to turn off that.
This ain't good. On your gear.
Hello, Carolyn. Yes. Yes, the microphone is very responsive sometimes. Sometimes everything else is quite responsive too. But then again, sometimes it is not.
No way I can lose.
Cool. Take that. Oh, I wasn't on the right. Oh, I wasn't rotated properly. That sucks. I forgot that Jet was goofy. That's alright, because we're doing this. You love to see it. Oh, what? Oh, I won't do that because I wasn't goofy before doing the trick. Oh. Unnecessary time waste. Okay. It's just a one lap thing. It's just a one lap thing. Good.
What a performance! It looks
On your gear. Get set.
I was in desperate need of that water. There was no way that I was gonna let a tiny bit of menuing stop me. That skill. Ugh, boring. Oh. Okay. Good. Oh. Oh, I thought we could get past that one without having to hit it. Without having to high-five it. Always forget that one at the end. Oh, and that.
I win.
Everybody gets one voice line, and it really annoys me. You know, even with that bad menuing, like, when the game just said, no, you want to do this instead. I think even with that, I might still be able to PB. Purely because the game's not saving. So if it crashed, if the thing crashed, I don't want to say the name of the console, but
think you can win with
if
a
the thing
four
crashed, then I'm in trouble. Got some of them. You take the 30.
Excellent.
Ooh. Yeah, we got it. We got it. This dude tried to jump with his hands up in the air, despite the fact that his hands are already hitting the ceiling. Cool. but we can chill on this one if we want. Let's see how far we can get. See if we can get next. Okay, not if we're not getting there. Let's take it chill. Unless... No, let's just take it chill. Stop. Just wanting to make sure it doesn't reset or anything. Hey, yeah, all part of the plan. That's obviously why I did that. It's obviously why I stopped.
Your gear still isn't.
On your gear.
On your gear.
Get set.
Set. Okay, last mission. No, second to last.
No way I can lose.
Bro, what a bro. Whoa, I've not found that power up often. Retake that, retake that. Okay, cool.
Too slow.
Look at that, switch around. Smooth. Oh, that's so smooth. Ooh. Wow, it tilted me around again. We've got to tilt this way. So we don't need to be the other way. Ah, that was clean. Happy with that.
Congratulations on an
Okay,
On your gear.
this is the race.
Get set.
Should hopefully go well.
No way I can lose.
No.
Go high.
We know how to start these. We're the boys.
You like that? Let's go high. Go. No sweat. Switch.
Yeah, thank you. Sonic got up there anyway. Scumbag. Back this way. Oh, fuck you, game. Yeah. This game has incensed me enough to make me swear at it. Right, can we get here a cycle before Sonic? No, we can't. He's joined us in the bowl. Okay, got a level up there. That's good. Nice. Sometimes I don't want to play too well, otherwise Sonic will play just as well or better. If we have to restart this, then very disappointing. Okay, Sonic missed it? No, he didn't. Thank you. So you see Sonic just stopped there. Another cycle ahead. Oh, I could have really done with something better than that. And something better than that. Seems like Sonic got caught up somewhere though, so kinda safe at the moment. Not very if I keep messing things up like that. Cool. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, I mean, looking at the map now, it looks kind of safe, doesn't it? Stressful, eh? Way too up. There are ways to cheese the AI in this game. I don't know them, so you just got to believe me when I say it.
I'm number 1.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's probably a Babylon TV for me.
And with that, the Babylon. Well, folks, the world.
On your
Alright, we're back at it again. Yeah, Maverick, thank you for the raid. Hope your stream went well. See you again. I need to move back a little bit. Okay. Yeah, hello Kirby. We've got a whole host of gamers here today. Right, I usually get bonked right at the start here because of whatever weapons the other guys pick up. That looks like we're safe for now. Also, in terms of like projected time, is like I had estimates of how all the different stories would go in a any percent run, and this is going pretty hot at the moment. Oh wow, okay. Yeah, that wasn't it. Okay, well all I've got to do is finish the second or third. Concerning. Need to jump there, I keep forgetting. I forgot. There we go, it's more like it. Cool.
no surprise here.
Alrighty, everybody from Maverick Stream, if you don't know who I am, I'm here, I make bad decisions. This is one of them. I think you can tell what's going on at the moment.
3-person team.
I don't really have to say all
On
too
your
much more.
gear. Get set.
Yeah, we are chasing a sub 2 hour time. At the moment.
No holding back.
I did not kick Rouge, you idiot. I'm sorry, PBR, I'm being rude to your lady. Yeah. Oops. Good. I'm not liking how close we are to this. Ooh, it's a bit late. Ooh. Please. Late, but
What a boy.
6 seconds, that's good enough. Oh, I can certainly CatBoo.
On your gear.
I can boogie. Boogie.
Get set.
Thank you, bot. Okay, I did not kick that, but go off. Take down at least 3. Yep, gotcha. Okay, we just need to hit one more. Keep forgetting the jump there. A champion. How am I splitting? I am using my... I've plugged my Xbox controller into my PC. And I've got it on a very long lead. On my bed. So I can just press it from here.
On your gear.
But before I thought of doing that, I was running over to my keyboard every time to split. My keyboard is behind my camera, so I had to run out of frame of the sensor to do it. All right, everybody,
No holding back.
get ready to put some T's in the chat. Did not ask you to do that, Rouge. Good. It's picking me up.
Ticket.
That was close. Good. Good. Yeah, easy mission. Easy life. Can we? No, not quite. Can't quite get a full house, but we will go to the end if we can. Perfect. fast that we got there.
What a bore.
Cool. You know, I'd mentioned that I'd had projected times for how far I would be
On your gear.
in the game, sort of after different stories, and I'm way ahead. I'm way ahead, so I'm feeling good about this. I think this is another truck. Yep. Royal Rumble. Thank you. Yeah, we got two. We missed one of the boxes, unfortunately. I think one of the characters, yeah. In fact, are there two up there? So, oops. Eee, very good. Nah. The shell of Hypnotics' former self has left. I'm worried that if I say my name, the Connect will be like, oh yeah, no, you wanted to do that. Yeah?
On your gear. Get set.
Someone has taken over Hypnotics. He would not do this. He would only do this against his own will. I would cry. Don't you dare.
Witness to true speed.
Oh, unbelievable. I agree. Yes.
Smash.
Good. Change round. I don't know how this works. Okay. Think like that. No, over here. Over here. Keep. Flick. There we go. Finally hitting that.
No surprise here.
Brill. Never in doubt, that was one that could go badly, but didn't. Which is good.
Well, that was certainly overfast.
On your gear. Get set.
I apologise that I'm not quite as talkative as I usually am. I have just done... Tell you what, it's gone very quickly though. I have just done 50 minutes of non-stop Freerider stuff so far. Goodness knows what I'm going to be like in another 50.
No.
Yeah, we're about halfway through the run, so... I'm happy with how things are going. Okay. We've got a jump to make around this corner. good. Ooh. Please, top route. Yes, we got that. That's how you get to top route. S rank. Yo.
On your gear.
This is a ring one.
Get set.
I think every team's got a ring mission, at least one. I know it's time limit one. Most damaging thing you can do with these missions is to fail that first jump. 'Cause that costs time. In the inside lane, which is good. Please upgrade. There we go. Yo, a new mic. This is a big step for the PVR Twitch.tv channel.
On your gear. Get set.
I hope you have a hassle-free sort of setup, because I know microphones can be kind of funky sometimes. And in fact, actually today, I switched microphones because I had one setup that was better than another one, so. Challenge. Ooh, okay. What? Disgraceful. Oh well. We hit that one, so. And we hit that one. Yes. Didn't hit that one though. Missed that. Oh no. Oh, that's not good. Oh, that's not good by any means. We might be able to pull it back. Ah, bollocks. Ah. It's one failed mission. Please let me get that one. Thank you. Okay, I don't need to jump there. Cool. Cool, right. Speed to start off with helps us a lot. There we go. That's all we needed to do. Oh, I'm pissed. Mega pissed, because I wanted to just do one run of this that was sort of perfect in like getting everything done. First try, but looks like it will not be. Still bogus that I missed the first one and this one. I refuse to believe the game's lies. Oh, and I didn't fail that one in practice, which is annoying, so... Oh, that's the microphone that you were using before. I did wonder whether it was inbuilt with anything, so... Oh, let's put a bit of a dampener on the mood. I wanted to get it not quite perfect, but you know what I mean. A first try run. I guess that means I'm gonna have to do more. 5 GLs, thank you, much appreciated. Right, sounds don't use that, but I do. Oh wow, didn't know that happened. Oh. Hello, Cream. Hello, Cream the rabbit off of Sonic the Hedgehog. Bollocks. Oh, how just went down the power route. Ugh. Just went down it again. And again. Oh, this is not looking great for me. Maybe we can't let you win. Oh man. The whole reason why I changed sides to get that thing, but wanted to get it right that time. I'll be evading blue shells. It ain't nothing to me. Don't speak too soon, bozo. I need to do that at a different time. Oh wow, it looks like we're relatively good on the map. You know, at some point someone's gonna interview me and be like, "Hey, what's the hardest speedrun you've done?" And I'm gonna be like Sonic Jam for the Game Kong because I'd rather do this than that game. I'm sorry, Flame. I know I'm not the image of a man who should be saying such things. Because I am fighting for breath at the moment, but trust me when I say. There we go. Finally hit it. We are in the Mystic Ruin. Jungle time. Switch. Good. Oh, debated.
No surprise here.
Alrighty, well we got through that.
Congratulations! This time no one can. All right, folks. The work.
On your
Okay.
gear.
I'm gonna make sure that this configures properly, and then I think I'm gonna try and shoot for a drink. Hi. Higher, easy.
I'm playing for keeps. Get ready. Get go.
Look at the timing. Oh, 0.01. You love to see it.
Here I go.
There we go. Good. Right. I want to hit a thing along here at some point. I did not see that as a villain. There we go. We missed this so many times last time round. But look at how much... I thought that helped a little bit. I'll be honest. But it did help. It did help. Just the power and the flight characters do better around here than I do, I guess. Train, where's it coming from? It's hard to tell. We'll take the bonk anyway. Oh. Sit here and then go. Nope, nothing. Go left here. I think this gets me some air. Yes. Doesn't matter. Does it? Get some more air. Hey.
No way I can lose.
Okay. An S, we take an S. It's good. I feel horrible. I feel so horrible right now. I'm enjoying it. I am having fun, but just
Get set.
if it wasn't against Twitch, and probably if I probably wouldn't have the confidence to do so anyway, I would probably lose some of the clothing, because oh my goodness, that's an interesting graphical glitch there. Right, everybody ready for some more teas? VT plays it in. Okay, good, good. Nice. There's one along here that's quite hard to do. we hit it! We hit it! Yo! Let's go! Me happy. Me very happy. So getting that glide sort of thing is quite hard to come by and to get done, so I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm in the groove. I'm in the groove for Team Rose. As long as Vector don't screw me over, I'm good. Thank you, Black Doom. I'm gonna need it, you know that. Right, so the obstacle, the aim for this one is to not bonk anything. If I bonk anything, it's mission done. I can't go below a certain speed. If I do, I am dead. This mission isn't even the least of my concerns for Team Rose, so it's annoying. Okay, I'm glad that they have no collision. Don't do this to me now. I'm gonna kick it out. Okay, but this helps.
I'll beat all of you. Go!
We're very close to bonking there. Very close. Oh, if we'd spent any longer in there, I'd be very annoyed. That's annoying. I would have hoped for a potential PB in that one.
On your gear.
I've practiced both of them today, so
Get set.
oh well. Oh well, oh well. And in fact, actually, come to think of it, Vector's missions where you're not jumping up a lot are actually really good respites. Quite grateful for that. Things I did not think I would say. Okay, I'm glad that it's picking me up now. This is a mission where we can do with it. And we're gonna rescue kick along here. There we go. Only the third try of asking. Okay, we're gonna take it chilled along here. Because it runs out very quickly along here. Okay, that was a risk. Phew, that's good. Phew, alrighty. I'm glad we didn't have to restart that one, because that is a long one.
On your gear.
I completely forgot that that was one that's against the time as well. Okay, this is punch. Ring grab, okay.
I'll beat all of you.
Got to do the funny jumping. No. Here. Not collecting any of these is concerning. Bad got that. Saves the bacon a little bit. And saves that. Depends what we do here as well. Only 10. Never in doubt. Never in doubt. Easy. What do you mean? Also scroll mission, so let's patch some things whilst we're here. Hey, we got that too. Nice. Not even just a C rank. We do better than that. Stop. I'm annoyed I didn't start up this workout on my watch, so I can't measure where my heart rate went up the most, like which stories rattled me the most. Okay, Bobby first.
I'm playing for keeps.
Should be easy enough. Not top group. Well, all of these cheaters. Yep. Hey. Well, we tried. We asked nicely, but that's all right because we get it there. Oh, could never be ball one. Oh. Don't you dare! Oh no, I'm getting attacked. I don't have much time to get time back. Okay. That helped a little bit. Oh no, whoever's first is first by quite a ways. Oh no! I have nothing. Computer, if you could slow down a bit. Yeah, there we go, thank you. If that ball could just... Yeah, thank you. See, sometimes the AI does just do that. It's just like, oh yeah, no, we've got to give him a shot, he's got to win. He's the protagonist. Okay, this confirms our safety. Oh. Making it much closer than it needs to be. A lot of these missions, cutting it very, very close. I'm very glad it didn't listen to what I said.
What the heck is happening?
On your gear.
Punchy mission. This is so silly.
I'll beat all of you. Go!
Okay, good. It's responding. It's promising. Can avoid that, that'd be great. You did, good. Oh, no. If you hadn't hit that one, I'd be worried. Whoa, B2S. Today I let that can happen. I didn't kick there, but it's cute that you thought so. Okay, almost 10 seconds under.
I'm on fire.
Well, 10 seconds over, that's alright. Did Jet say, what is happening in that in that cutscene? If only Jet knew the gravity of the situation.
Get set.
And funnily enough, so for those who weren't here earlier, I opened a package on stream, and the guy who has the world record in this game has also ran one of the games that I picked up. Oh, I hate element challenges. They boring. Excellent. Didn't think this particularly good, but there we go. Good one. Okay. We need to do another jump seat. Go close to one. Needs to be good, and it was good. Yeah, it's very good. Nice, we'll take this one as well. Good, taking this route. It's a must. Oh. Stack dash pad. Cool. 2 more missions. Oh no, Arcania. Do I even want to know? When somebody says they've got a game for me, like that could mean so many different things. So many different things.
Get set.
I will learn Puyo when I do Knuckles Mania. Actually, no, I won't, because you can skip Puyo. I will not learn Puyo. Unless there was a... Don't tell me there was a Puyo Connect game. Don't tell me there was a Puyo game. Imagine. Right, this mission sucks. Sorry, it has potential to suck. It's really easy if we do it well, but... Like I said, potential to suck. messed up. Okay, we're gonna have to retry this one. That's 3 retries, I think. Retry. See, it can help me out sometimes.
I'm playing for keeps. Get ready.
I'm not playing Just Dance, but yes. Thank you. Okay, starting off a bit better.
Get ready.
I just want to do this. That's all I needed to do. Oh, you're talking about Samba de Amigo. Somebody added an SRC leaderboard for that the other day. One of the categories on there is fails.
So did we win?
Think.
We won.
Something like that.
On your gear.
Oh, a Puyo rhythm game. Good lord. Whatever next. Whatever next. Sonic game on the Kinect. Sorry, I need to scratch my button.
I'm playing for keeps. Get ready. Go.
Take this. You can't stop me.
Get ready. Get ready. Go. I did it. Get ready. Here I go.
My Sega would never. Bit late? No, I thought that was late.
Here I go.
Avoided. Good. Yeah, we'll take this one. It'll be a bit low. Avoid this, that'd be good. Bonk.
Away. Here I go. Here I go.
Another 15 rings soon would be nice. You know you had to do it too. I feel like that's the pose that I was trying to channel there.
Get ready. Here I go.
You know, when you're this far first, I'd rather get a different item than that. I'd rather get a bit of air or something instead of a inker, whatever it is. Yes. There we go.
Here I go.
Keep on getting the inker, it sucks. You serve no purpose. You should get a different item right now.
Here I go.
You're good. Amy, come on. He was too busy pirouetting to bother about what was going on. The issue at hand, dear. Yo, Ika. Hello. I am in pain. I am just very uncomfortable. I hope you're having this better Friday than I have. Mate, honestly, I could be wearing my bright yellow top and look like a refresher. That would be funny.
There's no doubting it this time.
Okay, on to the final race, and as long as this doesn't take half an hour, which it shouldn't do, we should have a time on our hands.
Nice work out there, Racer.
So no lapses in
On
concentration.
your gear.
It's just 3
Get set.
of the same stage, and we should secure it up.
All right, bring it on. See ya.
Didn't want to be too risky with that. Good. Yeah. Taking that route is important.
See ya.
Okay, we missed that, and that's alright. Which way around do we go? Yeah, so we can avoid having to take that automated section. We do something different. But we didn't, it's alright. Oh, you bastard! Moved over to me. Good. Oh! Nothing to jump there. This is just a one lap thing, so. It's a 3-mission thing. I forgot. I forgot. Moving over here in the hopes that. Oh no. Oh, I missed the shortcut as well. It's sad. Oh well. Seems like we're ahead, so I can't complain too much. Why am I getting Bs? I don't think my device is picking me up properly. Good. Glad we hit that, regardless of the score. That's what I get. Okay, that's the position. Oh, we almost got that racing line. It's near enough. nice, yeah. So this saves us a lot of time. Someone, that's good. Rubbish. Oh, we've got to hit that again. Oh dear, they're going to catch up a little bit. Very well, we keep moving. Gonna be a B, this game. So I'm going to quickly in the hopes that it will rejig things a little. Alright, Edgar's getting involved.
He wanted to call.
On your gear.
Yeah, I'm surprised I have not seen more DYNs during this stream, but you know, can't happen if people don't pull through. It's going to give me neck problems, this.
All right, bring it on.
0.05. Get clowned on. This is the edited map slightly. Yeah.
Triplex board.
Don't know what that was, but I didn't like the sound. It sounded awfully like you were trying to sabotage my runs. No, triplets. I wish I knew all of the words to that. That band, you know. Okay. Okay, and then to skip things, we move over here. It's alright, we're right next to one of these, so you get our speed back. Good timing. After that as well. We're going to be first through, we're first through. Let's go. Good, well remembered, Dave. I hate that these are 3-lap jobbies. If they weren't, then my life would be a whole lot easier. Nice, that'll catch anyone off guard who's just come off that. Nice. No, Brandy, no, that's not the words. Thank you. See, I don't know how to control this, but we're just gonna roll with it. catch that, that's alright.
Ready, go! Ready, go!
Huge.
Ready, go!
Back better.
Ready, go!
See, it's all fun and games, and then you realise there's another one. It's alright. Close. Very close to not working for me there. Let's take this. Excuse me, that is not a C.
Ready,
The game's trying to sabotage. Can't believe it. There we go. Yo, PBR.
Give up your children separate with your time. Lie way.
I'm gonna need to check what you were saying. Oh, I can't. I would sing, but I think it might kill me. Ugh.
Sonic Underground.
I agree. Sonic Underground to you too. Oop. We might hit that. We might hit this. Still makes no sense to me, that. Good, remember that again. Do I need to jump at the end of this one? No. Okay, cool. Yeah, last mission. Let's just say we're on pace.
How can I possibly lose the blasted data I collect?
Okay.
On your gear.
Yes, you gotta rep. You gotta help the dude out. It's a struggle.
All right, bring it on. Ready, go.
Look at that start. It's like we're equal.
Ready, yeah. Ready, go. Ready, go. Ready, go.
This corner.
Ready, go.
It's not very nice, actually. Oh. Pedia so well. Oh, excuse me! Oh, bother. That's annoying. Not liking how it's giving me B's. Okay. No, that ain't it. That's it though. Whoops. Huge. B again. My bum is touching my door at this point. Or the things that I have hung up on my door. There we go. See, it's detecting that. Should be a mix.
Ready, go!
There we go, thank you. Don't know why that didn't work last time. Okay. Yeah.
Ready, go! Ready? Yeah!
Yeah, there we go, that's the spot. I literally have no idea what controls that. I like it. This will certainly be a final race PB if I keep this up.
Ready, go! Ready, go! Ready, yeah! Ready, go! Ready? Ready?
Okay, one more ring away from an upgrade, thank you.
Go! Ready, go! Ready?
Alrighty, this is the last lap. We're almost out of it.
Ready, go!
Unless the AI rubber bands like a motherfucker, we are out of here.
Ready, go!
It's a shame we've had to reset. Well, reset. It's a shame that we've had to restart a couple of missions. But, if my projections are correct, we'll beat the world record by 10 minutes. Unless world record includes the credits as well. I would be surprised. Tell you one thing I'm not going to do, I'm not going to jump straight into another run. I think I'm going to pack away the export. Oh no, don't say the word, don't say the word. Alright. We're almost there. I think it's when credits go. I'm just going to play it safe.
Woo, that was amazing!
Oh, no, don't skip that. Oh. Oh. This is so nice for my back, you have no idea. If only the ground was cold. Could really do that right now. Ugh. I'm going to assume that people are saying GG, I'm just going to say thank you. I feel the GGs from down here. I'm currently resting the left of my face on the floor. Eyes closed, hands sprayed out. I want you to visualize what state I'm in right now. This is what Sonic Freeriders does to a fella. Sad to say, I don't think I'm done with it either. So what did we do? We failed one in Dark Story, 2 in Rose, I think. 3 in Rose? Yeah, 3 in Rose because Vector was being a bitch. Oh, I died. I died. No, 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 no. thinks my head is the Sultan. He thinks the monkey's the Sultan. Right, well, keep an eye out on the credits. Unless, it might not because I didn't sign in. We'll see. I'm gonna go through chat. Thank the GG Maverick. Thank the GG PBR. Oh, everything's quite sore, you know? What's the time? It's 5:10. I'm gonna... Celebratory Oreo double cream. You know how it is. Oh. Thank you, Brandino. I'm also gonna get rid of the clumps of hair that are on the floor. You didn't see that. It's gross. As soon as you grow long hair, it all wants to start falling out. I'm really sad that they don't bother, you know, just showing the really nice CGI cutscene that they did at the start of the game in these sections here. They just show the PNG tubers, you know. Maybe I should do that as a thing. Maybe I should have one of the free riders PNGs and do a PNG tuber thing. Oh. Well, yeah, I'm not gonna do another one of this. But yeah, there we go. There I am. Oh, that's so funny that it does that. Yo, S2. That's crazy. Shout out to Colin. Love you, Sega. Please acknowledge my SGDQ run. I'm gonna pretend that I need to skip that. Okay, I don't. It is finished.